Welcome to Accountex 2024 Manchester edition, and we're here for the podcast Pitstop, brought to you by Ask the Accountant. Caroline and the team has once again been able to give us the opportunity to podcast Pitstop like no other, and we've got some amazing guests for you. Our first guest is Kimberley. Kimberley Shapcott, tell the world who you are, why they follow you, where they should follow you. Go and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kimberley Shapcott, qualified chartered accountant, property investor and entrepreneur. I have a YouTube channel called Kimberley Shapcott Property Accountancy and Tax, and talk all about how tax is impacting property entrepreneurs.
I love it. Right, now we're going to talk to one another. We're going to have a proper chat here. So, you got the opportunity to come in a little bit earlier than everyone else. You were able to come in here yesterday to kind of spoke out the event. What are your first impressions of Accountex 2024 up in Manchester?
Well, it's been my first Accountex, so it's been really interesting to see all the different people. Some stands I recognise, some I don't recognise, so I'll be having a mosey on round to see what is happening and seeing what useful tools there are available to those in business, as I look after a lot of general clients doing different things, as well as property focused ones. So it's really to kind of see what's out there and what can help us accountants to give the best to our clients.
I love it. So give us a peek behind the curtain then. So what are you looking for? What is Kimberley Shapcott out there looking to find out of this? Because if this is your first Accountex, normally I tell you Manchester's the place to be because it's that little bit more intimate. But the team at Accountex have done a fantastic job. This is the busiest, the biggest I've ever seen it. Somehow, we're in the same building we're always in, yet it seems twice as large. So what are you looking for? What are those little niblets are you looking to improve your practice or improve your client's journey?
For me, it's really trying to help, especially some of our property clients, make sure they're ready for making tax digital, but also adding the other features that you as a landlord really have to be on top of, like even just things like your gas certificates and all the other side of things, and just make sure you've got those tools in place to actually get the best out of your portfolios. And for our general clients, it's really what tools there are to, in some ways, especially these days, and talking about the economy, it's all about, well, getting your money in some ways, because if you don't get your money in, you can't pay your team, you can't pay your bills and all that. So it's just making sure the cash flow is working in their businesses for them, because I know apart from recruitment, which is an issue for many businesses I talk to, keeping the money flowing is obviously always one of the more important parts of your business. I think there's a lot of work out there for everyone. So getting work, as long as you're doing the right things, isn't a difficult job. So it's just keeping the money flowing so that you can keep growing and developing your business.
I love that. I love that. So this is your first ever Accountex. What are you most looking forward to?
I suppose it's just having an explore to see what is here. I know they've got some talks. I can see there's a couple of theatres around the room, and there's a lot of stands. When we came for our sneak peek yesterday, there was a lot of different stands. You're like, oh, what's that one do? So it's really going to be have an explore, see what everyone's offering, as well as saying hello to a few familiar vendors that I already work with.
Yeah, it's point of actual seeing that person, right? Yeah, you see them over Zoom or Teams, or whatever you see them over.
You just talk on the phone, don't you? You don't really see them.
Wait a minute, how tall are you, or whatever it is? You know what I mean? Like actually seeing a human element to it. Yeah. No, I love it. That's my favourite part. It's the connecting. It's talking to them. So these sort of events, right? I can imagine you must have been a little bit apprehensive about coming to such a big event. How do you take action from these sort of events? How do you make sure at the end of this that you're going to go away and you're going to make sure that this day of investment, because it's a day of investment, right? We're outside the office. We're not earning us money as such, right? How do you make sure you make the most of it? What's your top tips for making action from an event like this?
I think before you come to an event like this, you've always got to have a bit of a game plan, have a look at who's going to be at the event, so that you can kind of go, oh, they'd be useful to actually have a face-to-face chat with. And then when you're there, it's make sure you talk to the people you want to. Make use of some of the talks, because they're always amazing at these sorts of events where they get some really interesting speakers. And then at the end of the day, or whether it's today or tomorrow, it's that sit down, what did you get out of it? What are the ones you want to take action on? which do you need to have follow-up phone calls with? And I'm going with most of the vendors will have waiting lists or different things that they will want to get those details to phone you. But kind of, I suppose sometimes it's just be targeted, because there is a lot of people in this room. And if you took cards and spoke to all of them, you probably won't get anything done. So you kind of need to pick maybe 1, 2, 3 tops of the ones that you're actually going to do something. And you might have a load of others that are really interesting, but actually put them on the next year job other than the this year job, because you're not going to be able to do 20 different things. Let's be realistic. We're running our businesses. We're not sitting there twiddling our fingers. But if you can find that useful tool that's going to make it easier for you or your team or everyone, they're the things that you kind of really want to focus on.
100%. And I think that's one thing we've got really cool about our industry. What you're saying is, and what you're talking about is the fact there's all these different ones, all these different vendors, but actually there's quite a few overlapping ones, and it's about finding what's right for you, right? I would recommend X, Y, Z. That might not mean it's the right for you, right? And I think that's what we've got good in our industry. One thing I would say is that this industry has grown massively. I mean, you must have seen how much more inclusive it is, and the fact we're actually helping one another. And
I think these days there's a lot of interconnectivity, and it's finding the right group of apps that is going to fit with you, and you'll find different vendors you'll click with and others you won't, and it's like find the ones you want to work with rather than just because you need to or have to.
100%.
It's find the right community of people that are going to help support you develop your business, because ultimately they're helping you develop their business, and they need to and want to, because the more successful you are, the more successful they are. So
100%.
it is hopefully a win-win for everyone, but it's finding those correct ones, those right ones that are going to work for you and your clients, because you could actually find you start using something, it doesn't work. And I know you are a big culprit of shiny penny.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And you'll try anything and everything.
Yeah. For my decade, right?
Which is amazing for your followers on all your different platforms.
I make all the mistakes. They don't have to. Yeah.
You're kind of looking at, maybe that one's not for me.
So it's safe to say that you love that about this industry, right? It's got more inclusive, there's more opportunities. What would you change about the industry, though? What's nagging you at the moment that makes you think, you know what, if only we could improve that one little bit, everyone's life's going to be better?
That's a difficult question. There's nothing that springs to mind that is an immediate, it needs to change. I think the great thing about having some of the providers is they will follow up, probably sometimes to the detriment that they follow up so much that you kind of like, I really don't have time to deal with this now. But then I don't think that's an issue on their side. I think that's more an issue that as a practice, we're all busy. And I know for our practice, we've got loads of work coming in, which is incredible, and I love it. But there are times like, oh my God, I've not got time to do this, this, and this. And then having extras of someone phoning, it's like, oh, we need to talk about this app that you're looking at putting in. So I suppose that's more an issue within practice, that we need to be creating the time, and potentially as practice owners, actually get our team involved in these a lot earlier rather than try and shoulder the burden.
And
I think sometimes we do as owners of the businesses, we're the ones that, oh, I've got to do this. And you kind of go, well, actually, no, we don't have to do this. We need to get our team working together to do this. So that's probably, in some ways, the feedback to the industry is probably don't always go for I suppose we're the decision makers, but we're maybe not the ones that you need to be talking to. You need to get our buy-in, but then get to the team, because the team are the ones that are probably the ones that are going to make it happen.
And you feel sorry for the vendors for that, right? Like that's a hard,
and it's a hard
thing for them to tackle, right?
You've got to get the buy-in from the person who's paying the bills, but then you actually need to probably work with the team, because they're the ones that are going to make it happen. Rather than probably the decision maker sometimes. Depends on the size of the practice, because if there's only one person in the practice, there's only one person to talk to. But as soon as you've kind of got a team, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 people, that's where you're going, well, actually,
trickier, isn't it?
Find out who the people are going to implement it. And they're probably the ones that, when you kind of got the go button from the person paying the bills, get to the right people in the business, because that will actually make it happen. Because sticking with that primary person may not actually make it happen, and that's not a great position for the vendor to be in either, because they're kind of constantly I say annoying and bugging, and it's not that they're trying to annoy or bug, but for a busy person,
especially if you've actually paid up, they want you to get the value out of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's just a subscription rolling on month after month and not being used,
it's not working for the vendor, like it's not working for the business.
So you've just spoke about the year that you've had, and it's been a tricky one. But if you start back at the start of the year and you think back 12 months ago, tell me one piece of tech, one piece of app, one system you've implemented in your practice that you wish you knew about sooner. What one thing do you think you go, you know what? I wish I know about this. It could be a gadget, it could be anything. But what for the listeners out there, what one piece of advice would you give them if you should definitely look at implementing this sooner?
The one that's really kind of helping our clients, and we've had it for a little while, but it's probably this last year as we're getting more clients in the sector, because we work with a lot of property investors, like the channel. It's like we work in that area. And we found hammocks a really good solution for landlords and property investors. They are here today. And one of the things that they brought in, I think it was last year actually, was being able to deal with limited companies more fully. So we've not fully used that yet, but I know that's the one that I was probably most excited about, because before it was like, what do I do for my limited company property clients? And we've been using things like QuickBooks, which works incredibly, and big advocate for QuickBooks themselves. But for a landlord having to learn a bookkeeping software, it's not amazing, because
the extras they get, right?
Whereas on Hammock, it was like, actually, you can keep track of that gas cert, you can keep track of all the other bits and pieces, as well as like, has the tenant paid, and are they in arrears, and all these things. But you can also be doing bookkeeping at the same time. And now they've got the limited company side of things. It's amazing, because you can kind of have the ones in your own name, the ones in your company. If you've got a JV or something, you can have that all in the same system, all on one thing, and it will tell you all the answers of it. So now they've got the limited company side of things. That in some ways is a game changer for that side of things, because it makes it so much easier to have everything all in one place. So someone who does have a portfolio of 5, 10, 20 properties, you're not having, oh, I've got this software for this company and this software for, and as we know, everything is to try and make our lives easier, and we do need our lives easier, because there's enough going on in the rest.
Compliance is already complicated enough, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the last 12 months. What about if you were going to look forward 12 months? You're going to cast your crystal ball and look forward. How do you think AI is going to impact it? Do you think it's a fad? Do you think it's something we're just overhyping? Or do you think it's the future?
I think there's a lot of options with the AI side of things. And I think it's going to be an invisible invasion is probably where I'd probably go with it. Because I already know, like, QuickBooks has AI within the software from probably a QuickBooks Connect that they did. I know some of the other softwares have it in the background. So I say an invisible invasion because I think it's starting to be there without any of us really realizing it.
100%.
And you kind of go, I know we've started in our office using, or at least our marketing person, ChatGPT, to try and kind of help with whether it be letter writing or whether it be marketing content, where you can kind of do your first draft, and having done your first draft, you throw it in, see what it does. You probably don't like all of it, because some of the things that it does, you go, what the hell are you talking about? But ultimately, some of these things, it's just starting to make life easier and get better.
100%.
So I think it's there. It's starting to be phased in. Who knows where it's going to go in 12 months, I think is the question, because you've obviously got the scary films where it takes over the world, but let's be honest, hopefully we're not going down that direction. But you kind of go, is it going to impact accountancy? Well, yeah, I think it's going to definitely. We're very much an IT-driven industry now.
100%.
Because the days when I know we were both training and we sat there and you were writing up on your sheet of paper a list of all your invoices and all things.
The adding machine calculator,
I've got some of them in the office, but they're definitely not used like they used to be. And with all these different things, you go, yeah, tech is the way forward, because we're not doing any of those. So AI is going to be quite a big impact, but whether it's a visible impact, I think that's where I'd say it might not be seen. But then when you look back in 12 months, you go, wow,
100%.
some of these things are really striving forward.
at a rapid rate, right? Like we can't even I can't keep up.
I don't think we can keep up, and I think that's probably the biggest weakness in our sector. It's like, because I know I've seen practices and they are still using pen and paper, and they've still only got one computer to go and post it. And I know we're a bit more tech savvy because we're all on the software and we're all using the different things, but we're definitely not using as much as we could do. But I think that's the age-old accountants. A lot of them are time poor.
Mm-hmm.
On that basis, trying to implement and bring new stuff in, however quick and easy it is, it still takes time. And I suppose for vendors, it's always going to be, how can they make it as easy as possible? So it is kind of that, oh, I've got half a day to do this. Can we do it in half a day? Yes. Let's get it moving. Because hopefully, I suppose the age-old aim is always going to be create more time, because either you can do more work.
I mean, accountants are the best at backfilling, right? Like, you give us some extra time, we will fill that time.
Oh, yeah, I could fill most days.
Yeah.
But you kind of go, if you could create time in someone's life, are you creating time for their personal life? Which, great, because we all don't want to be working 24/7.
Yeah.
Or you're creating time to make sure you can give that quality of service to your existing clients, or take on more clients to hopefully
100%.
build your business even further. So yeah, it's all going to be interesting. And I think it's finding the right apps, the right solutions to then all put it together, because there's so many. If you can find the right ones, it will be a game changer for the business.
100%. Well, Kimberley, that is the end of our Pitstop Podcast. You have that camera. You pick a camera and you plug some more. Tell people where they can find you, why they should find you. Little YouTube channel, I've heard.
So I've been Kimberley Shapcott from Shapcott's Accountants. We are a accountancy firm based in Derby, helping many, many businesses from startups through to 5-10 million turnover businesses. And I'm Kimberley Shapcott from Kimberley Shapcott Property, Accounting and Tax YouTube channel, where we release a weekly video all about property tax, property accountancy, you name it. If it's to do with property and your tax or your accounts, it will be on there. And if it's not, leave a comment and it will be on there soon.
Absolutely love it. Kimberley, it's been an absolute pleasure to be our first podcast of this year's Accountex 2024. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming along. I know it was a bit early for you, but you've smashed it. And that's it. This is our first episode in the bag. Don't forget, we have plenty more. They're going to be coming to you thick and fast. So make sure you like, subscribe, all that sort of jazz. We're going to be talking about this. And don't forget the weekly podcast as well. See you in the next one.